Hey folks, Keith McCowan here. I am the Outboard Dad, here to help you have a better boating experience. Today we're continuing on with our Johnson Evinrude 130 horsepower looper motor rebuild. We have everything bored and honed, ready to go and cleaned, which is key. We don't want any grit left in there when we fire this motor back up again. We have our two oversized pistons, 20 over, for our, let's see, was it port side? Yes, port side pistons. Notice it does tell you that it is 20 over because it's stamped right on there, so we know which one we're using. Today we're going to go ahead and move forward and get our wrist pins into our pistons and our circlips put in. This way we're ready to go to put the rings in next. We're going to clean those rings because, well, there's one package we didn't open. The one that we opened we used as test. We're going to make sure we clean those rings, make sure there's no grit left on them. Don't forget, my used outboard motor buying guide is for sale on Amazon right now for $20. If you send me an email with proof of purchase at keith@outboarddad.com, I'm offering a free session over the phone, a $250 value to help you with a motor that you're working on or a boat that you're looking to buy. It's springtime now. Everybody's getting the itch to get out on the water. If you have a boat or a motor you're looking to purchase, you need to have this outboard guide to save you thousands from big mistakes that people make and end up costing a lot of money. Now that we know that everything's lubed, everything's cleaned and ready to go, we can put our wrist pins in. So let's take a look here. Here's our old wrist pin, and we can examine it closely. You know, I examined a little closer with my fingers, not with my gloves on, and there's no ridges or anything in it, so we know that our bearing is good. So we're going to save that just in case future we might need it. We're going to open up our package here with our new one. I like the way Pro Marine and Wiesco packages this stuff because it keeps it nice and clean. So what are we going to do? We're going to get our special concoction of Shell Rotella oil on here, and we're going to make sure with the white lithium we get this coated completely. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start it in the piston, but we're also going to go ahead and coat the insides where it rides. Now you can never use too much. It doesn't hurt. It's just going to run out if you use too much. But we definitely want to make sure everything is coated. So we're going to start it. We can see it slides right in. We know we have our bearing that goes in here. Now it's as simple as just pushing it through and putting our circlips on. But we first want to make sure I have labeled here which one is the top. So we're going to take a look at our block. So this is our top. This is the bottom of the block. So I know it goes in this orientation. So we want to make sure that our ports are lined up properly with the exhaust side. So we can see our exhaust side is going down, right? Because here's our exhaust coming out. So we want to make sure we align that properly. So we'll get that lined up, and then we'll get this pin in here the proper way. But we're not going to put it in the engine block yet. We just want to show you how we're going to put this together first. And then we'll get our crankshaft in and we'll put them in one by one. We know now where we need to be because we have up written on our port side. It's going to go up because this is the top of the motor. So we make sure it goes in this way. We'll go ahead and start our pin over here. And now we know I wrote down on here port side, and I know that was the upper part. So we're going to put it in this way so the rod goes in the same orientation that it came out. Now, it shouldn't matter, but I like to put it back as much as we can the way it was when it originally was built. So now we'll go ahead and get our circlip in here on both sides. And that can be a little bit tricky at times. They can fight you, and they can shoot off and fly off into the shop somewhere and never be found. Not that I've ever done that before. I've actually at times ordered a second set of these, which I do have some new ones in packages just in case. But let's see if we can do this without. Now they give you a little slot here to work with that sometimes makes it easier, sometimes it doesn't. But this can be a little bit of a fight. Let's see if we can get this in. What I try and do is start it this way so that I can hold my finger over it and hopefully not pop it out and work it in like that. So sure, that one went in easy. I almost popped it right back out again because it It's not in the groove all the way, so let's get it down in the groove all the way. And there it goes, it pops right into place. All right, so we're going to go ahead and push that pin through so that we can see it's holding. And now we'll get the other side in. Again, I'm going to work it because I have my little slot here, right? There's a little slot on the piston. Most of them have that. And that gives me something to rest my screwdriver against. I don't really want to go against the side here because I don't want to make any ridges in it. But I want to get it started by holding my finger over top so it doesn't pop out. And then kind of use this to pry it across and into the hole. And there's that one in. So now we know we're all set with this one. Now we just have to clean those rings, because these rings, I'm going to take them over here to the parts washer. I'm going to spray them with some brake cleaner, and I'm going to throw these bags out so I don't get any grit accidentally on anything. So we're going to clean these really well. We're going to take a nice new clean rag, spray these off, and then we'll get the rings on. So these are nice and clean now. We'll make sure by drying them with a nice clean rag. Now I'm going to take some of our famous oil mixture. I always mix a little bit before I start putting it on. Now I'm going to get it in the grooves where the rings go, but I also am going to avoid where my pins are, just so I can see them and I know how to line up my rings properly on the pins. And what do I mean by pins? So if you can see right here, there is a pin there, and then if you look closely at the rings, the ends of the rings are concave on each side that pin goes in. So we got a good amount of oil. This is a very high-tech tool we're going to use. It's just a ring spreader, nothing fancy. And I'm going to make sure that I grab it so that my concave is on the top. This will spread it out. Now I'm not going to spread it right here because I don't want it to bing, fly off. I'll drop it first, see? So I want to get it in there a little snug. And there's my pin right here on my piston. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this over. I don't want to overspread it, just enough to get it past it. And get it into that second groove. And now we can see it lines up with that pin. And we have nice lube in there. We could squeeze it in and squeeze that lube out. And now we'll get the second one in. Locate my pin first. I'm going to put my finger on it so it doesn't fly away on me. And just spread it enough to get it in there. All right, and now we know we're lined up. I'll put a little bit more oil on the outside of these rings as well before we put it in. But right now I'm going to put this one aside and we'll work on the next one. So this is my top because it's labeled top. This is my, just says port on it, so I know it's the bottom one. We'll get the piston, circlips, and everything and rings on this one. And then we'll do the standard rings. We're just replacing the rings, so we want to clean those pistons really well. And then we'll be ready to get the crank in here. We'll do that next. Always making sure we keep everything clean. Now we're going to go ahead and clean up our standard pistons. Really not a lot of carbon on this. It's pretty good. But we're going to clean it up really good, get most of our carbon off. We're going to get these rings out. And I'm going to show you. We're curious what your opinion is on that. But what I'm going to do is, just for the heck of it, I'm going to take the ring that we were using, that we took out because we were using that piston to set the rings in place before we did our ring gap. I'm going to take this standard old ring, I'm going to put it in the standard hole, and I'm going to measure it real quick. I'm curious to see what we come up with. I'll let you know. Okay, we went ahead and put that in there, and I had to put two feeler gauges together because I only go to 28 on that feeler gauge, so I had to put a 15 and a 16 together, which got me to 31. If you remember, the book said 32 was the max gap, so obviously we couldn't reuse these. So we can use them to clean the other grooves out. So I'm going to break this, but I'm not going to use the end I break. I'm going to use the other end with the concave in it because I know it's straight. So So we're going to break this off in the vise. Now I'm going to take the clean end, not the broken end, the clean end, and I'm going to go in and out of this groove, and I'm just going to clean it to get all the carbon out of here and make sure it's clean all the way through. So I'm going to get some parts washer in here now, and I'm going to work it back and forth, and we're going to clean that carbon off that piston. In our next episode, we're going to get that crankshaft out, get it in that block, and start putting these together. All I'm going to do is put the rings on these old pistons because they're standard size. I am going to lube up everything really well. I'm going to jam some lube into the wrist pins. Even though they still have some two-stroke oil left on them, I'm going to force some in here. There's a little hole in this. I may put some in a little syringe and force some in the hole, but I'm going to get some in there. If you look closely, if I push it to one side, I can get to those needle bearings. So I'm going to coat them on one side, push it over, coat them on the other side, make sure we get some good oil in there. So stay tuned. We're coming to the final touches. We're getting ready to get our pistons in, and then torque. We have to look in our book for our torque specifications for our rod end caps. Once that's in, we're going to do our end caps that have the bearings on them, lube them up really well, and make sure they're sealed, right? We have new O-rings that go around them. You don't always have to replace them. Let me know your opinion on that. If it's a motor I'm selling to somebody, I like to have as many new parts as I can. But is it really necessary? Can we put a little sealer on those? We don't want it to get in the engine, so we have to be very careful. So please like, subscribe, send me any comments that you have, and we'll see you on the next video when we're putting this crankshaft in. Have a great day.